This is Geek News Central. My name is Todd Cochran, coming to you from the new media production studio in Coldwater, Michigan. The lead stories are NASA grapples with a Hubble issue. SpaceX has a new drone ship. NASA and Grumman challenged with obsolete issues. And South Korean university installs a lavatory that pays you to make a deposit. I want to welcome you to episode 1539 of the Geek News Central podcast for Monday, July 12th. This show is sponsored in part by GoDaddy.com and listeners just like you. Great deals from GoDaddy can be found at geeknewscentral.com/GoDaddy. Support of this show today by you can be done at geeknewscentral.com/insider. I want to welcome all the new listeners to the show. Thanks for being here. And of course, if you're brand new, make sure you get over to the website. It's real simple to do. Get over to geeknewscentral.com. Get signed up for the newsletter. Subscribe to the podcast. It's all there on the website. We want you to tackle that immediately so that way you don't miss a single episode of the show. You can, of course, join our chat room at geeknews.chat or our Discord channel as well. We also have a Slack channel that you can request access to. And really, to do that, all you got to do is email me here, geeknews@gmail.com. And, of course, I'm available on Twitter at Geek News, so hit me up on Twitter or follow me on Facebook. It's greatly appreciated. All the partner shows are linked at geeknewscentral.com. And, of course, this show is sponsored by the longest-running continuous sponsor of podcasts since our good friends at GoDaddy. You can save a lot of money at GoDaddy. You can save a lot of money using my promo codes. It's very, very simple. All you do is go to geeknewscentral.com/GoDaddy, and you'll find my promo codes where you can save 30% off on new product purchases on $4.99.coms and newer transfer domains, or $1 a month economy hosting for the first year with a free domain, or $1 a month managed WordPress hosting for the first year with a free domain. Those are all some of the great deals that I've got at geeknewscentral.com/GoDaddy. Check them out, get signed up, and of course, you can get a free trial of GoDaddy website builder, your choice of personal, business, or business plus plans. For those of you that are listening to the show, you will not hear a small gap in the show right now. For those of you that are live, I left a speaker on the other room, and it's driving me crazy. I can hear myself echoing. So it's going to take me about 5 to 10 seconds, maybe, if I can run that fast, to go over there and turn it down and come back. But I'm going to turn the speaker off. Meanwhile, look at those GoDaddy deals. Did that seem like an eternity? It did to me. I am such an idiot. That's part of my checklist, and I missed it tonight. Oh, man. Maybe I'll leave it in there for the regular audience to just hear and be entertained a little bit. Anyway, y'all can laugh at me. All right. So what's been happening here? Well, had a busy weekend, but it was rainy. Rainy weekend. It's going to be a rainy week. They're even predicting thunderstorms tonight. And I'm going to tell you, it's okay. It's been a weird. It's like we got our July weather in June, and it's just kind of odd, but it's okay, and it's still warm. So I'm still wearing shorts. That's the important part. And so I'm actually sporting tonight some more 511 gear. Absolute insane sale. 80% off on this shirt. It was $9. $9. So can't complain. I bought 4 of them for $9. You know, if at any cost, it'll make a good rag someday. But anyway, rainy weekend. We worked on projects. Watched a bit of YouTube. But the battle of the itch continues to extreme measures. Now, I don't know if I told you guys this on the last show or not, but there's this old formula liniment salve that my mom has used for years. I remember using this as a kid. And again, if I talked about this on the last show, I can't tell you how much of a lifesaver this has been for me over the past couple of weeks. It's called Porter's Limited Salve. You can get it on Amazon. A little dab of that on a spot that itches, the itch goes away and it dries the spot out. So I've used, well, let's see, how much have I used in this can? I bought 3 cans of this, so I'd have one at the office. So you can see I've dabbed a little bit out here and there. But I bought 3 cans of this, one to have here in the office, one in the car, and one at home. And it stinks. It really stinks. They'll smell you coming a mile away. But this is the first day I have not used it. And I'm crossing my fingers on the backside of whatever I've had. And counting the weeks, I'm not unconvinced that I didn't have shingles or have shingles. It's just a little different. It's usually shingles are like one side. Now, I've had the shingle vaccine, both of them, both shots. I've had, shingles is usually one side of the body or the other. And I'm still not unconvinced that this isn't what it's been. But we'll see if I continue to have a little bit of improvement. Today was one of the best days yet in a long time. So keeping my fingers crossed that this is going to resolve itself. But anyway, you guys don't care. But this stuff here, I'm going to tell you, if nothing else, for mosquito bites or any other kind of bite or open wound or something that you get, you need something to take the pain away, this stuff is a miracle product. It really is. Old fashioned, I think it costs $12 on Amazon. You get it $10 on their website, but you got to pay for shipping. So it's all the same, basically the same. They get it on, and they have limited payment options on their website too. So tomorrow I'm doing an online presentation for a radio podcast event. So I'll be on from 11 to 11:30. That's a paid event. And then very soon, of course, travel starts. And planning another trip back down to Columbus for a few days and then out to Nashville at the end of the month for a week there. And but anyway, that's what's going on here. Shows as normal for the next couple of weeks for sure. But let's go ahead and I'll get into the stack of stuff tonight. Crazy, I didn't turn that speaker down. I heard it go and I'm like, oh my God, how did you miss that, Todd? So what's going on in space? I mean, a lot. Richard Branson, they had their historic flight, first billionaire he beat Bezos to orbit. So big news there. And him and Elon Musk apparently booked a flight on Virgin, so a space flight. So that was kind of curious. But NASA is having big challenges with Hubble. It's broke, and NASA's struggling to understand what's going on here. And it's been out of service since June 13th. Now, what they're going to do is they're preparing to switch on secondary regulators that control data and power. NASA's astrophysics director, Paul Hertz, said in an interview, a failed piece of hardware on those regulators is the likely culprit. Pretty much everything, with some exceptions, is fully redundant, meaning there's a backup if something fails. We can't say for sure exactly what is wrong, but we think it's a failure in a component that we're trying to isolate. He said isolation is likely, but he acknowledged there's a small possibility a fix from Earth isn't possible. A team of about a dozen people at NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center in Maryland will test procedures to safely turn on power backup components, which Hertz said is complicated due to the remote nature of the work and Hubble's suite of delicate high-tech instruments. Of course, we know that NASA no longer has a spacecraft designed to service Hubble, which was deployed by Space Shuttle Discovery in 1990 and had multiple servicing runs by the space shuttle. And we know that the telescope is at 340-mile high orbit, 80 miles higher than the International Space Station. And of course, NASA performed a similar fix to Hubble in 2008 by switching on backup components. Then in 2009, astronauts installed a new backup equipment on a final shuttle trip. So it's been alone for a while. And they say because of the exact nature of the problem, the agency cannot predict how long a fix will take. While some astronomy can be accomplished by other telescopes, Hubble is unique, of course, in its observation of the clear space sky. And they're hoping that Hubble will work in tandem with the James Webb Space Telescope, due to be launched from Florida in November. But the James Webb Telescope does not see an optical light. It sees an infrared light. It'll be able to see a few 100 million light years farther than Hubble, but only in the infrared spectrum. So this is going to be devastating to NASA if they can't get this fixed, and scientists alike. So probably we're going to see a call at some point for a replacement for Hubble as well. It's taken long enough to get the James Webb Telescope ready to launch, and a lot of things right on that launch, including getting to orbit without blowing it up. So a lot of people, that's always a possibility, and it's that scary moment till they get it to orbit, and then of course if it works, these are complicated beasts. And putting stuff in space is still, even though SpaceX is doing it on a routine basis, is full of risk. But with that, Elon Musk unveils SpaceX's newest drone ship for rocket landings at sea. Now, they've been doing some shuffling, and I kind of wondered what was going on with the SpaceX Starlink launches. But what's going on is the drone fleet used by SpaceX to catch falling rockets has added this third autonomous ship, which they're calling a short fall of gravitas. Now, something more on that a little bit later. But Elon Musk unveiled the newest floating rocket landing pad on Twitter, along with dramatic video from a flying drone circling the ship, which is 100% autonomous and can go under its own power and does not need a tug. So that's pretty cool. Doesn't need a tugboat. They just autonomously operated it. This new ship will be put in place in Florida to support landing launches of Falcon Heavy and flagship rocket SpaceX Falcon 9. They're talking about at some point doing double landings at sea when they do a heavy launch. SpaceX's next expected launches from Starlink, though, are set sometime in this month from Vandenberg Space Force Base in California, because they're going to be doing northern launches. And they can basically, out of Vandenberg, they can go north over the ocean and not go over land, and it's less risk to the humans below. So what's going on is that, of course, I Still Love You, the drone ship most people know about, which has supported Atlantic launches since 2015, was moved to the Pacific coast in a month-long journey beginning on June 10th. So this is pretty big move there. Meanwhile, in the Atlantic, this new drone ship will work in conjunction with Just Read the Instructions, which moved to Port Canaveral from Port of Los Angeles in 2019. Now, here's something I didn't know. And I'm going to have to do some lookup online. But the other two drone ships, like the other two drone ships, the new drone ship is named in honor of work from the late science fiction writer Iain M. Banks. The newest ship's namesake is the fictional spaceship experiencing a significant gravitas shortfall, while the other two ships are also named for vessels mentioned in Banks' culture novels. So I don't know if I've read any of his books. I may have. I'm going to have to go look. It's got my curiosity up. But any of you read any of the books from Iain M. Banks, the late Iain M. Banks? So I don't know if they're Space Odyssey books or what they are, but definitely got my attention in a big way when reading this today. I'd always kind of wondered how they came up with the names and really never looked for the information, but space.com today had the had the juice. Now, this next topic, a lot of space news today, because it hit on something that I'm very, very familiar with my time in the Navy and doing the things I did with the government. NASA and Northrop Grumman are designing a new solid rocket booster. It's called an SLS Block 2. That's a real militaristic name. A lot of things called Block 1, Block 2, Block 3. It's kind of how they do it. But what's going on, and you may not have known this, but the solid rocket booster that was used to put the space shuttle in orbit, or help it get to orbit, they built, as part of that finalizing of the program to get ready for the SLS, they reserved 16 solid rocket boosters, SRBs, that would be used with SLS to get 8 flights in. Now, these are built, they're on the shelf, they're ready, they're stored, they're ready to go boom. And what's going on here is the SLS booster obsolescence and life extension, what they call a BOLE program, is in the detailed design phase prior to firing its first ground test development motor in 2024, followed by a preliminary design review for the booster that will inaugurate the SLS Block 2 vehicle. New solid rocket motor design retains the form and fit of the current motor, but incorporates modern production technologies, composite cases, and a new solid propellant formula. NASA's SLS and Northrop Grumman are working to integrate the new design with the SLS vehicle and increase performance to congressionally mandated levels while minimizing impact to design and operations of flight hardware and launch processing infrastructure. Now, here's the thing. Obsolescence. Technology obsolescence. You might be shocked how much money technology obsolescence costs the military, costs national labs. If you think about some of this stuff, some of these rockets, some of this tech that has been in aircraft has been around for years. And be honest with you, some of it is old, but it works. But the problem is there's no replacement for it. I remember, I really can't probably go into too much detail, but there was a box, let's say about the size of a lunchbox, a traditional lunchbox, that performed a relatively simple process and had some LED readouts on it, had some power controls for some motors, a variety of different things. And that box, I had started using that box originally back in 1983. And it was in an airplane I flew in, and it was very rugged. It was didn't break. And when it did, we turned one in and they took it and pulled a card or two out of it and fixed whatever it was and brought it back. And it used, traditional type of caps, and it had some CMOS level programming, but not a lot, pretty low level. And, but it got to a point in the 2000s where that box was like, we were counting spares, counting repair components. And we basically projected out how long it would be before that box, we'd run out of parts and couldn't fix it no more. You just couldn't source the parts. It just was not possible. And we went out, and the program I worked in set out a contract and hired a company to build a replacement for this box. And I don't know how many millions of dollars later, maybe not million, but probably several $1 million later, several years later, several reviews later, several updates later, I got a box that was, considerably smaller. One card in it, a power supply, replace. Well, it went from like probably 18 inches by 6 by 6 to about 10 inches and like 4 by 4, really small. And lots of room inside the box because the other box was full, like 6 card sets, multiple connectors. And the new box was like 2 pounds or something. It was ridiculous. The other box that came out was like 30 pounds. But that box, when in place, did the same exact function of that box I was using in 1983, but in the 2000s, it had modern components in it and about the same failure rate. We were, having issues once in a while, burn a chip up or something would happen. Failure rate about the same, but at least we could then send it out and we had spares and you could replace or fix whatever was broke. And we were good. But that's just one instance of things that happen today in your federal government and DOD and NASA and everywhere else where stuff is just, it works fine. It doesn't really need to be upgraded. If it worked forever, you would have to do nothing. But because of obsolescence, that box had to be replaced. Now, here's the problem. So think about that 1983 box that I was using. Was probably being used for 10 years before I saw it or more. That happens 100 times, 1,000 times, 10,000 times over across multiple programs. And that's where a lot of your taxpayer dollars goes, and revitalization and upgrading stuff that's, and probably in today's component cost, if we could actually get the components that would be used in those old boxes, it'd probably be much cheaper, pennies on the dollar as compared to the new part components. But, it's a funny thing when you have a component that is rare. At the time that it was constructed, that component may have cost $5. Now you say, oh, I need one of those. And you go out and you scour everywhere. You scour online. Believe me, at the time I had a list of resources where I would go part searching and then very quietly inquire about a price. But they could always smell you out and they would figure out, oh, you're DOD. And that $5 product, that $5 chip that you could buy 25 years ago is now $800. Only because some company was smart enough to buy up 20 of these. They put them on some shelf somewhere, thinking someday some dude named Todd is going to come looking for that chip, and he's going to need. I never bought just one. If I needed one, I bought 3 because I knew we were going to because you couldn't get them no more, so you ordered 3. So $2,400, and you got 2 $800 chips sitting on a shelf that some may or may not ever be used again. But if it isn't used again, you're like, I didn't need one. But if you use 2, then you're kind of sweating again because you need one. It's all a roll of the dice. So there is literally hundreds, and probably not hundreds of millions of dollars, but there's probably billions of dollars of parts like this sitting on a shelf that is there purely because of an obsolescence issue, that in case someday a guy like me burns up a box that's just in normal use and I go and pull that box and do the repair and I need that chip, and if I have it on the shelf, I can use it. And I've saved myself literally millions of dollars in replacing those parts because I was able to have an obsolescence program that planned for future obsolescence by having the parts on hand. So I gave you guys a little lesson here, but I remember a certain container that I had access to, and actually multiple containers I had access to, that people would always say, why are we keeping that stuff? And I would say, well, see this part? Hold up this imaginary part that I'm showing all of you. I'm like, that part goes to that, and we only have 3 of those. And yes, those parts have been sitting in there since 1984, But if that part ever breaks on that part, I can come here and get one of these and not have to go out and buy one at 10 times the cost. Because people are always trying to say, let's get rid of this stuff. Let's send it to a DRMO, Defense Revitalization. So what would happen is I would send this stuff to DRMO, and some smart guy would be like, wow, that's interesting. I'll give him $20 for that box of stuff. And he'd go put it on a shelf somewhere, and 5 years later, Todd needs that part, and he's going to buy it from the same dude that we gave it. So we are pack rats, absolute ultimate pack rats, and we had literally semi-trailers full of spare parts that it was because of obsolescence. It happens, maybe some of you have had experience with this, but when I hear the current booster use shuttle flight hardware and technology is becoming obsolete. So it's obsolete, and they have only 16 more SRBs that was used during the shuttle program that was reserved for SLS. So now they got to build new ones. So they've got this Block 2 replacement program, and those new SRBs are going to be much more expensive than what they originally bought, but they're going to use the same technology, build on things, redesign, update. I've been through this 100 times. And when I was in the Navy and doing things I did with special projects and all that stuff, because stuff just gets old. And it's even worse when you buy stuff that's called commercial off-the-shelf, COTS. So if, let's say, I bought a motherboard that would go in a computer for a specific use case, and let's say I had 6 of those computers, I would put in 4 probably for additional spares, and then I would have piece parts because motherboards change every year. And if someone is programming some code to a specific motherboard and you don't have that motherboard to replace, and it's running on a code that has been written for that motherboard, you're screwed. You're screwed. And you got to go back and you got to do a new contract. Say, hey, can you update the code? And of course, when they open up the code, Uncle Sam pays. So you pay one way or the other. You pay for the new code or you pay for the spares. It's this delicate balance and trying to manage those levels where you don't waste taxpayer dollars and buy too much stuff and then have, if you have a mean time between MTBF, mean time between failure, if you think that part's going to last you 6,000 hours before it burns up, if that's what the manufacturer says, they're always wrong. So you take 10 or 20% off that and you come up with a number and you know how many hours this is going to be maybe an airplane or on an operation or whatever. And you do the math and you say, okay, this thing's going to die in 3 years and 6 months. So it's crazy when it comes to these high-end programs, the FA-18. Every military program has an obsolescence program. A tank, a truck, you name it. Every system in the DoD has an obsolescence program because it's by the time you contract it, by the time you do a statement of work, by the time you get through contract negotiations, between the time you get the purchase done on the contract signed, by the time the product is made, by the time you go through factory testing, before the time you go through integration testing, before the time you fly it for the first time, that might be 3 years. And guess what? The product is already on the road to obsolescence. So some of you can relate to this. I'm sure you're going to have comments. But if you wonder why hammer can cost $600, I guarantee it was a special kind of hammer bent a certain way. Now, toilet seats, we don't know about that. But tools, heck, I had to make tools sometimes. I get a tool, couldn't get it in, it wouldn't fit, get a grinder out, grind it down. One purpose tool, goes in a toolbox, and it's got one purpose in its entire life is to turn one specific screw or something because you can't get to it any other way. I could go on forever. So this kind of tricked my trigger, you can tell. I hope you enjoyed my little dissertation here. And now you understand why government, military, hardware contracts are always insanely priced because you built in obsolescence pricing into buying enough spares to make sure that you put enough reserve in because stuff breaks. There's gear that lets the smoke out. You're flying along and all of a sudden smoke's coming out of the front of the box. You didn't do nothing. It just decided to burn up. So look at the Hubble. The Hubble had an incident. Something let the smoke out. Try and plan for that. Being, spacecraft. Okay. John and Susie and Sal, what happens? What happens when component A burns up? What do we do then? You have to plan on these contingencies. Did you enjoy my dissertation? If you're on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, please say hello. Say you just got educated or you already knew this. But it gives you something to think about. Believe me, sometimes I would be like, do we really need all this stuff? But it would be just 2 days later, someone would say, hey, we got one of those. I'd scratch my head and I'd go to the inventory list. Say, yeah, maybe. And we'd go down and we'd dig through we called it the 80-year bin. Not the 50-year bin, the 80-year bin. Bins of parts. Roll the thing up. Yep. Alpha B12. Yep. We got 3 of those. It's your lucky day. Here you go. Someone was my predecessor thought we need to put some of those spares in so that when Todd 15 years from now needs one of these, we'll have one. All right. On a heavier note, a professor at South Korea's Yuslan National Institute of Science and Technology, presumably fed up with students in the university flushing their money down the drain, has come up with a system that managed to reverse that action. So check this out. He built a potty. It's called the BV. Uses a vacuum pump to send human, waste to an underground tank where it's broken down into methane and manure. Now, this is South Korea. The former is used to help power the university's buildings, while the later, listen to this, is used on a nearby university garden. Yahoo! Great usage of poo. Well, not only that, he is giving those that reward. Let's say he rewards those who make a deposit, literally, with a digital currency that can be exchanged for fruit, coffee, food, and books on the Institute campus. The idea behind the system is that, yes, our daily poo has a monetary value since they offset the university's energy bills and helps grow plants. So the BV toilet financially rewards students who make deposits. Now, that is a system I can get behind. Wouldn't you get behind? You could say, hey, you're going to get some cryptocurrency to spend here if you make a deposit. That means if our... Oh, let me take this to a new level. All right. So I encourage you to go to your city council and bring a motion to the Public Works Commission to tell them, hey, I have something of value to give you. I give you something that can be used for energy, for methane, for manure. You should pay me for flushing the toilet. You've got a use case here of this system, the BV. Interesting, huh? If you think about it, there's always money in something. Meanwhile, we spend billions of dollars to break down waste and process it and literally dump it. uh, yes, Brian, it does that. It changes the meaning. Ain't worth shit. I agree. Oh, good on Kirk for finding that one. Article of the day. Absolutely beautiful. We need more shows like this. Man charged for allegedly selling insider trading tips on the dark web. Apostolos Trovias faces up to 45 years in prison if convicted on money laundering and securities fraud. He worked at some trading company as a quote-unquote administrator who had had access to earnings reports that were going to be released. And he was selling that data on the dark web to people that wanted to have an advantage in buying stock based on insider trading. He fled the country, and he was arrested in Peru in May. And the U.S. government is working on extraditing him. Others have been charged or convicted in connection with the Alpha Bay activity. In February 2020, feds charged Larry Harmon for allegedly running a $300 million Bitcoin money laundering scheme. Last September, Brian Connor Harrow was sentenced to 11 years in prison. Harrow was a moderator for Alpha Bay and resolved disputes between vendors and customers. He pled guilty to conspiracy to engage in racketeer, influence, corrupt organization. So, can't do the time, don't do the crime. Verizon expanding 4G LTE, 5G home internet as it preps for C-band launch. The carrier also has a new C-band ready router for 4G LTE internet. Those cities that are getting this are all cities, no country yet, no country. So those that have high speed in the cities are now going to get high-speed home internet from Verizon. Isn't that lovely? My phone's ringing. Who's calling? Oh, that's interesting. I thought I set this to do not disturb. My phone's ringing, but my phone isn't ringing. That's really bizarre. So let's put this thing on. Would deny that call. Someone must have guessed my actual mobile Apple Watch number. But anyway, among the new 5G home are Akron, Ohio, Ann Arbor, Michigan, Columbia, South Carolina, Durham, North Carolina, Fresno, California, Spokane, Washington, and St. Petersburg, Florida. The carrier says it now has over 200 markets across all 50 states, up from 189 markets in 48 states in October. The carrier previously lacked 4G LTE home internet service in Alaska and Vermont. Pricing and speeds for both options are unchanged, with $40 per month for those of you that have Verizon already as a wireless user, and 5G home running $50 per month. So my company has made the switch. As of tomorrow, my iPhone will no longer be on Verizon. We make it saving a lot of money by switching to T-Mobile. So my company phone will be on T-Mobile as of tomorrow night if everything goes well. So we'll see how that works out. But anyway, Verizon has got these plans for these in big cities. Those of you that already have high-speed options, just the high-speed rich continue to be high-speed rich, and the high-speed poor continue to be the high-speed poor. Come on, Elon, let's go with Starlink. I'm telling a lot of people about this. I know of at least 30 to 40 people in my community that I've talked to about Starlink that have put their orders in, pre-orders in. My goal, there's a certain internet company here I'm not happy with. They are going to understand that they should have worked harder to upgrade their speed, because I'm going to get as many people as I can on Starlink. Okay, Google accidentally tips Pixel 6 and Pixel 6L names, quickly removes reference. Like that was a stretch? That was a big leak? Really? We couldn't have figured out that they were going to call the next Pixel phone Pixel 6? Talking about obsolescence, how to check what motherboard you have. So those of you that have a Windows PC, when you're looking to upgrade your computer hardware, one of the most difficult things to understand is whether or not individual components are compatible with the rest of your PC. In other words, you're getting ready to buy a new motherboard. Will the cards you currently have and the RAM you currently have be supported? And I'm going to be honest with you, I've gotten screwed a couple of times in this when I was building my own machines. Put a new motherboard in and drop the video card in. I was like, that doesn't fit. It doesn't have the right slot. Or get ready to move memory. Oh, that doesn't work. So that's why you end up with a bag of memory sticks. So The folks at PC World are going to try to make this easier for you to understand if you're getting ready to upgrade your motherboard, to find out if your current components will work with your new device. And sometimes it's not always exactly obvious. So PC Part Picker all provide helpful specifications and compatibility information. So this is pretty cool. And it walks you through how to find what type of motherboard you have, third-party software, talks about opening the PC and taking a look if you need to, look at your different type of card sets, all that. It basically breaks it down for you. So it sounds to me like it's a pretty good super geek website that you should check out. PCPartPicker.com is the place to go, those of you that are do your own self builds. Next up, authenticated brand logos in Gmail will roll out over the coming weeks. It's like a verified badge, but for emails. This is kind of cool. I actually sent this over to my dev team because what it means is soon in your inbox, you're going to see next to, well, let me see if I can show you this. So normally Bank of America would just have a B or something like that. But then the Bank of America logo is now going to show up on your emails. If it's a verified deal, they have to go through a process to do that. And you'll be able to tell that this is really from your bank and not from some spammer. So I'm going to look to see what it takes to make this happen for Geek News Central. So emails that come from Geek News Central will have the little G. And you register your logo. It looks pretty slick. It looks like something smart. So this is going to start rolling out over the coming weeks. And it's using the DMARC standard. And it's going to help reduce the likelihood that you'll open and act on an email posing from an illegitimate source. So ideally, the authentic brand logos will function like a verified badge you might see in typical social networks that tell you the account is actually owned and operated by the entity it claims to represent. So that's really slick. So I'm looking forward to seeing that implemented. And if those of you use Gmail, it'll show up again right in your inbox with the little logo. Cool. Sorry. Yes. Next up, Amazon. Amazon radar sensors could help Alexa monitor sleep patterns. An FCC waiver will let Amazon build devices that track how you move in your sleep. Now, when I hear them say they're going to put in radar sensors, I'm like, okay, I want to see the FCC filing on this because what frequency, what power, they're using radar and some motion detector stuff already, but they're interested in using radar sensors to enable sleep tracking and gestures on its smart devices. The implementation might be similar to how Google uses its Soli sensor in the second-generation Nest Hub. And this initial request went to the FCC on June 22nd. Claims its plain use of the radar would enable touchless control of devices, features, and functions without causing harmful interference to co-frequency users, which could be helpful to users with limited mobility or speech impairments. The company also says the new sensors can be used for sleep tracking and could help improve consumers' awareness and management of sleep hygiene. That's an interesting term. So they're apparently building a palm-size Alexa-enabled sleep tracker. So we'll see what this is actually going to be. It's got my curiosity up. Radars and devices makes me go, AT&T is removing high-speed data throttling from its most expensive unlimited plans, plus 4K streaming and more hotspot data at no extra cost. So if you have an $85 per month top-tier unlimited plan, they basically are going to now truly have access to unlimited high speed and no longer be subject to deprioritization after hitting 100 gigs. Customers will also get a bump from 30 gigs of monthly hotspot data to 40 gigs, as well as up to 4K video streaming, boosted for a maximum of 1080p. So again, this is if you're on your phone. There's only so much you can really do on your phone. So turn that into another home play, and that might be something to talk about. But only 40 gigs on tethering, you can burn that up really, really fast. So FCC speed standard, That a JetPy never updated is too slow, a GAO report says. So we know the FCC raised the standard to 25 megs down, 3 megs up in 2015. And remember, I only have 15 megs down and 3 megs up at the loft on the compound. So this is why I'm excited about Starlink. So yes, it's too doggone slow because it gives a lot of leeway to these internet service providers to claim they have high speed when they don't. So what they're actually pushing for now is a 100-100 benchmark. Whoa, that would be awesome. 100 down, 100 up. That's my kind of talk. That 100 up is really, really important to get that upload speed up. And also to have a small business minimum standard as well. It's just like this paying for this spectrum here, and I get screwed because I'm on a business line. It's insane what I pay as compared to consumers. It shouldn't be that much higher. I understand a little bit, but also it should work better than my home internet ever did. They say I get dedicated. Well, I don't know. I think it works just like any other cable modem. Up next, Verizon's call filtering app now blocks area code spoofing. I get those all the time. You know, I've got an 808 area code. Having lived in Hawaii for 25 years, my phone rings all the time with someone calling me from the 808. And I look at it, and usually it's not anyone that I know. I don't answer it. And then when I do answer it because I think it may be someone I do know, well, then it's usually some telemarketer trying to sell me something. So scams calls are bad enough, but neighborhood spoofing is worse. You can specify other neighborhood numbers. If you know scam artists use them, provide you pay $3 per month for Call Filter Plus. And yes, you can make exceptions. Any number in your contact list or allowed numbers will still get through. And you can correct and accidentally block by telling the app to ignore the filter for future calls. So you have to filter now down to the area code. As I said earlier, Elon Musk booked a trip to space with Virgin Galactic. Musk and Branson aren't bitter rivals, as you might expect. Matter of fact, Branson posted a picture of him before he went on his flight with Elon on Twitter. He said on this past Saturday, big day ahead. Great to start the morning with a friend. Feeling good, feeling exciting, feeling ready. Watch Unity 22 launch and live stream today at 7:30 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern, 3:30 Boston Standard Time. So it took him 2 airplanes to get 174 kilometers. One he piggybacked on. But again, congratulations to Virgin Galactic and their successful passenger-bound flight. Google, if you use Google Drive, they're rolling out a new Drive desktop app for syncing files and photos. It's replacing backup and sync and Drive file stream apps. So if you're using those, it looks like this is going to be a better utility to use to back up those files you have on Google Doc. Please do that. I forgot to renew one of my Google apps because I had a whole bunch of free Google app stuff. I went out for every domain I had, and I signed up for Google Apps. Of course, I had one email account on them, and I forgot about one, and I apparently missed the notice. Hey, you're not using this very much. Do you still want to use it? And they canceled it on me, and it was actually the podcastawards.com email address. And I was like, shh. So now, $12 a month to remedy that problem. So, yeah, that was a dumb one on my part, but just write it off. But still, it's $144 I didn't need to spend that I was getting it for free. But because I didn't respond to the email, Google said, aha, let's take it away from him. All right, any of you IT guys or ladies, SolarWinds issues a software update. One it wrote for a change to patch a hole exploited in the wild. This is another hole in SolarWinds software. Single threat actor already abusing this flaw. So they've issued an emergency patch for a critical security goal, and it's Serve View Manage File Transfer and Serve View Secure FTP was spotted being exploited in the wild. It was discovered by Microsoft Threat Intelligence Center and offensive security research teams. So they've issued a patch, and they say look out for traffic from this to this IP and TCP connections on port 443 from a specific IP address. So if you are an IT guy or gal and you're running a SolarWinds software, please be aware. Hey, Sony has revealed a new version of its lamp-style portable speaker. Its orders for the $350 LSPX-S3 glass Bluetooth speaker will open in August. So they revealed a cheaper model with speaker that looks like a lamp. Style-conscious audiophiles will be able to order the glass sound speaker starting in August. How does this thing actually sound? The Bluetooth-enabled device features an organic glass tweeter with 3 actuators and that enable to emit sound in all directions. The company claims the tweeter produces clear and powerful high tones and spreads sounds evenly throughout a space. The LSPX-S3 has a 46-millimeter speaker unit, and you can adjust levels via the Sony Music Center app. It also has LDAC support for high-resolution audio. Okay. So, very interesting. New piece of gear that's out there. So those that have more money than common sense, you can pick up one of these for, again, for $300-some. All right. Cryptocurrency trading volume is down as interest wanes following Bitcoin price drop. So in June, the price of Bitcoin hit a monthly low of $28,908. Those of you that got in for a few bucks, you're still rich. A daily volume maximum of 138.2 billion was down 42.3% from intra-month trading in May. So it's still all over the market right now. The report pointed to China as a major catalyst, according to Reuters, which reported on it earlier. China's latest of many efforts over the years to crack down on this have had a greater impact than ever before. Investors, experts in cryptocurrency ecosystem still see a long-term positive trend for Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. However, the Chinese crackdown caused a lot of fear, which showed up in markets, said Teddy Valet, chief investment officer at Prevail Global. The digital asset ecosystem got punched in the face, so it's currently up against the ropes versus fighting in the middle of the ring. Typically, when you have large sell-offs, participants are quite fearful and pull back their chips. So, because of the talented Chinese, you can't do this. China ordered a halt of cryptocurrencies. It prepares to launch its own, get this, state-backed cryptocurrency that shuttered mining operations across various provinces that hosted 50-60% of all Bitcoin's mining power. So miners left China. They weren't transacting as much with Bitcoin they mined. So anyway, that's what's going on. So if you're a Bitcoin trader, you probably know more about this than I do. Verizon has settled with Huawei over patent disagreement. Now, Huawei, interestingly, the spy agency for China that works telecommunication gear, has multiple patents. Matter of fact, they have the most patents of any other company in the 5G space. So they believe they can generate as much as $1.3 billion in additional revenue between 2019 and the end of 2021 by doing patent enforcement, and its first target was Verizon. And Verizon did pay. Verizon originally said it was nothing more than a PR stunt. Well, Huawei has whacked them pretty hard, and Verizon now is happy with the settlement reached with Huawei involving patent lawsuits. While terms of settlement are not being disclosed, our team did an outstanding job bringing this protracted matter to a close, Verizon spokesperson Rich Young said in a statement. In other words, Verizon got took to the cleaners, and Huawei cleaned up. So Huawei, the Chinese spy agency, cashes in. Samsung's Galaxy Unpacked lineup was revealed in an extensive leak. So we know that Samsung's upcoming Unpacked event is very comprehensive. On display in this leak was the foldable Galaxy Z Fold 3, the Galaxy Z Flip 3, and also the Galaxy 21 FE, Galaxy Watch 4, Galaxy Watch 4 Classic, Galaxy Buds 2. So a range of products from Samsung. So if you're Samsung fans and you want to get a look at the upcoming products, they're quite beautiful. Samsung has done a good job. And these are all videos, so you can take a look at them closely if you so desire. Link will be in the show notes. So anyway, someone popped Samsung's balloon in releasing this early. Now, I want you to listen very carefully. If you run across any Super Mario 64 games in an unopened package, immediately put that in an absolutely protected space. Minimize any possible damage that can happen to that case, because you might be sitting on $1.5 million. A sealed Super Mario 64 game sells at auction for a record-breaking $1.56 million. Now, someone with more money than common sense, and thank God they're out there, because people that find these discoveries in their attics and closets and garages and places where they box stuff up because the game the kids were playing years ago they were no longer interested in or never opened up for their Christmas present, could make you rich. Nintendo games have been commanding massive prices at auctions. Just days after a rare copy of Legends of Zelda fetched a record $870 million, and N64 Classic has almost doubled that amount for $1.56. That may seem like an insane price for a best-selling game that millions of people own, but the auctioneer says the company's mint condition sets it apart from your dusty old one. According to Heritage Auctions, the box game had a 9.8 A plus double A sealed rating on the Wata scale. So these are rare. It was the same condition as when it left the factory. These are called case fresh. So if you have any games that are case fresh, don't open them, for God's sake. We know that the copy of Super Mario Brothers for the NES nabbed $660,000 in April. So please go digging around, see what you've got. Did you buy two by Max? Did you get one for Christmas from your Aunt Judy and get another one from Grandma Paula? And you didn't open one? If you are, you might have your retirement vehicle. Good luck. Good hunting. I know all of you are going to start looking in your boxes, because I know some of you are going, what do I have? And if you find one that's all beat up, well, it's probably worth about 50 cents at a garage sale. I'm just joking. Actually, it might be worth more than that. Desktop PC sales bounced back, but only because of laptop component shortages. So that's interesting. Laptop shortages caused desktop bounce back. That's amazing. The PC market racked up another boom quarter. IDC's latest worldwide quarterly personal computing device tracker announced today finds that worldwide shipments of traditional PCs, desktop notebooks, and workstations reached 83.6 million units in second quarter 21. That's a 13.2% jump compared to quarter 2 2020, when the world went home to work on laptops. So that's big. I'll have the full thing up here in the report. But anyway, that's going to wrap us up for today. I hope you were entertained. I entertained you a little earlier about my dash to go turn down the volume of a speaker that's recording this show. But sometimes I do stupid things like that. It's been my pleasure to bring the podcast to you. Let me look here, see what we've got in... okay. Someone from the podcast. I don't see my entry. Let's look here what we've got. Got another email from Robert. Thank you for that advice, Robert. I appreciate it. Definitely thank you very much on that. And but anyway, the rest of you, what's your commentary? What do you have to say? What do you say about the show? The Insider's coming. Matter of fact, I was working on that system the other day. We've made some improvements to the UI. So finally, I'm just about ready to blast off on the new Insider podcast. It's many of you have been waiting months for. So that's coming. And it's finally, we're ready for execution here. But I want to thank you all for being here, being part of the family of listeners. Thank you for your ongoing support of the show. For those of you that are insiders, thank you for ongoing contribution. If you do want to become an insider, all you got to do is geeknewscentral.com/insider. Your $2, $5, $10, $15, $20, or $25 a month contribution, or write me a one-time donation is always greatly appreciated. Every penny that you send me goes back into paying the writers, paying Kirk, all the production for this show. All that money goes right back into that. Doesn't cover the entire bill, but it does help cover some of the costs of production of this podcast. So if you like the show, you like to be entertained, you like the value of the content, you like the presenter, you think I'm handsome or whatever it may be, or just send me a check because I'm ugly. I don't care. geeknewscentral.com/insider is the way to go. Your support of the show tells me that you love the content. And some of you have been supporting the show for a very, very long time at the $25 level. I truly appreciate your ongoing support. I'm truly grateful for that ongoing, all those contributions. So thank you so much for that. And again, I encourage you to become an insider here. It's important. If you're not, don't want to become an insider, recommending GoDaddy to one of your friends, family members, or coworkers is a great way to write. Same thing as writing the show a check. And I definitely appreciate when you do that as well. All right, that's going to wrap things up, everyone. Thanks for being here. We'll see you on Thursday, same time, same place. Take care of your family, friends, your pets, everything above. Be careful out there. Have fun. Enjoy this warm weather. Stay away from the thunder and lightning. Everyone, take care. We'll see you next time here on the Geek News Central podcast. Everyone, take care. Bye-bye.